order from east to west. We didn't plan it geographically, but it worked out that well for the ward, so huzzah for that. If you have any questions you would like the media panel to ask this evening, we have some note cards and pens over against the west wall. So if you want to go get a note card and pen a question, and then at the end of the table here, Alex Ewald, if you would raise your hand, you can turn it into Alexander there, and he will stack them up, and we'll work in some of those questions as we go through what should be a fascinating look-see at all our fabulous candidates for Enid City Commission. And we'll get rolling here in just a couple. And Derek, are you going to cue me when we're live? Okay. Okay. Very cool. And I think I talked to all the candidates on the panel, but what we're asking is with your statements, opening statements, try to keep those to 2 minutes. Same thing with answering questions. Curtis Tucker from Enid Buzz is going to be on time. We're not going to come up and mace you if you're like at 2:15. We'll just kind of maybe let you know if we've gone a bit over. And the questions are going to be a little more random. Some of the questions will be for a specific ward. So kind of keep your head in the game rather than just be a straight ward by ward by ward. The questions, some will pertain to everybody and some will go to a specific ward. And the person asking the question will kind of lead with that if it's a specific Ward 3 or Ward 4 question or Ward 6. So that'll be part of the questions we roll along. And by the way, thanks to all of you who've attended this evening. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here. All right, good evening and welcome into our 2021 Enid Municipal Candidate Race Forum. I'm Frank Baker. I'm the director of Enid Buzz Media and Marketing and very happy to be here this evening to help you on a wide variety of platforms. We've got radio stations covering this, numerous Facebook feeds and other city-related entities who are making this available. And also this will be recorded and played a number of times in the future. So there'll be lots of information out there on these great candidates who are running tonight and giving you a feel for what their platforms are. And as you go to the polls February 9th, you'll hopefully be more wise and educated. We'll go down the line before we start opening statements just to introduce everybody, and we'll start way down in Ward 3, so far, far east. Kent Rorick from Ward 3. Next to him, Keith Siragusa.
Lovely, man.
What's that? Okay, and Ward 4, Lloyd Kaufman, Whitney Roberts, and Jonathan Waddell. And Ward 6, Scott Orr, Ryan Redd, and Michael Shuck. So that goes down the entire line. Those are our candidates and our media panel just radiating a distinguished persona from one end to the other. And I'll start closest to me, Alan Klepper from Williams Broadcasting, J. Curtis Huckleberry, also from Williams Broadcasting, Kevin Waltman, the general manager of Chisholm Trail Broadcasting, Anthony Lopez, news director at Chisholm Trail Broadcasting, and next to him at the very end, Alex Ewald from the Enid News and Eagle. So we appreciate all you folks being here. And like I say, if you have questions from the audience, we do have some note cards against the wall. Please grab one and a pen, fill out your question, and we'd love to work that into the mix and mingle of our questioning tonight. Let's start with our opening statements this evening, and we'll come down the line from east to west. Kent Rorick, we'll start with you and your first 2-minute introductory opening statement.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for attending tonight, and thank you to all the volunteers who are here asking us questions. And I just want to introduce myself and my background. Hopefully I get bonus points for going first. we already have an advantage, Ward 3, because it's the battle of the beards, Keith and I. So anyway, I grew up in Minnesota, and I've been working in Enid, Oklahoma since 2013. My wife and I bought a house in Brookside in 2014, which we still live there, and we plan to live there until probably the retirement home. I think I bring to the council, if elected, a sense of humor plus a business background. I think especially lately, the last year or so, we could use a little levity on the board. And we also need to move forward. That's been my campaign slogan since the beginning. I filed on the last day because I felt like we needed another choice for Ward 3. And my background is my grandfathers were coal miners. My dad and brother are truck drivers, and I'm a salesperson. So I've been working at the same job since 13 here in Enid. I've worked my way up to a sales manager. For Ward 3, I just think, you know, it's the same thing we talk about all the time in Ward 3, but, you know, street lights, streets, infrastructure, economic development for the whole town of Enid. And I just believe Ward 3 has, and the whole east side for that matter, has a lot of potential. I work on the west side, live on the east side, and I see the potential every day driving through Ward 3.
All right, thank you very much. That's Kent Rorick, candidate for Ward 3. Next statement, opening statement comes from Keith Siragusa. Keith?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Keith Siragusa. I lived in Ward 3 now for the last 18 years. Spent 1 year in Drummond during the ice storm, which made me move back to Enid because I ended up without power for about 10, 11 days, I think, total. No power, no water. The infrastructure out there is a little worse than the infrastructure here in Enid, but planning on working on getting that fixed. A little bit about myself. I came to Enid in 1996, joined the Enid Police Department in September thereof, and retired in June of 2014 to start a new venture with Benny's Barn, which services children with different abilities and adults with different abilities. We do occupy a city building out on the east side of town on Roop, which we just got a long-term lease for. And we appreciate that from the city and the commissioners that have voted for that, which we're doing a lot of great work out there. A little bit about my civil service background. At the age of 16, I was a volunteer fireman. And then I went into the military at 17. When I came back from the military, I joined the ambulance corps, volunteer ambulance corps, which I served until I got hired on by New York City EMS. I was working through my EMT paramedic license when I got called to the Port Authority Police Department. I served on the Port Authority Police Department before coming here to Enid and serving 18 years with the Enid Police Department. So I have about 36 years of community service, and I plan on bringing that to Ward 3. I've put many miles on police cars on the east side of town, and I can guarantee that we can go back and take a look at the maintenance records of my police car, and I guarantee you I had the most wheel alignments. So I do know the streets are pretty bad in the Ward 3 area. Thank you.
Keith, thank you. And Whitney, we may need your assistance here. Lloyd, it's time for your opening statement. So Lloyd Kaufman, Ward 4 candidate, your 2-minute opening statement.
Okay, my name is Lloyd Kaufman. I've been a resident of Enid for 50 years this year. I moved to Enid in 1971, and I was a hairstylist and a barber when I moved up here, but I met my wife and she made me get out and get a good job. But I've served 4 years on the city council from 2005 to 2009. And I kind of know my way around up there. I haven't really kept up on the projects they've got going right now, but I would like to get back in there and put my hand back in there. And I don't know, you know, that's kind of where it is right now. So thank you.
All right, Lloyd, thank you very much. Lloyd Kaufman, candidate from Ward 4. Up next, Whitney Roberts with her opening statement.
Hi, my name is Whitney Roberts, and I am running for Ward 4 Commissioner. I am originally an Okie from Muskogee, but I chose Enid to be my home. I am a proud conservative. I'm a new business owner. I just purchased Photo in February of 2020, which was a perfect time to buy a business. I currently have one employee, and I'm looking to hire more. I am heavily vested in the economic future of Enid. Modaphoto has been a staple in Enid, and I am honored to continue the relationships that have been built over the past 4 decades. I'm a wife and a mother, and every decision that I make as a business owner directly impacts my family. I see Enid through this lens. I chose Enid because it is a wonderful place to raise a family. The success and the safety of Enid is a top priority for my family. I am running for Ward 4 because this city government shut my business down and almost killed it. I've had to make a lot of tough decisions as a new business owner, but I'm very proud to say that I have been able to keep paying my employee through this time, as difficult as it has been. As the only Republican running in Ward 4, I am best suited to represent the voters of Ward 4. I believe that we need a new strategy to attract businesses. I know that we can see the success of Jiffy Trip, but I know a lot of people are not happy with the demauling and the city funding the downtown hotel. I may be soft-spoken, but I am invested in Enid and committed to its success.
Right, thank you, Whitney. Up next, the other Ward 4 candidate, Jonathan Waddell. Jonathan?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Waddell. I'm a husband of my wife, Elizabeth, father of 4. I got into the military while I was 19 years old, traveled the world until Uncle Sam decided to drop me off in Enid, Oklahoma. We ultimately made the determination that we wanted to stay here. We wanted to make Enid our home. And where I'm from, when something is your home, you do what you can in order to be able to try and help take care of it. And so that was a part of why I originally ran. I've been a commissioner here for 4 years. In addition to being a commissioner, I also work at Vance Air Force Base. I also am an associate pastor at my church, and I continue to serve my community in every way that I can. The things that I would like to see happen with Enid over the next 4 years, specifically working on economic development. It's something that I started doing within the last 2 years of being on the commission, taking the philosophy of, we spent a lot of time previously before I got on looking for outside businesses from outside the state, larger businesses to be able to come to Enid. Instead, we changed course and we said we're going to spend more time focusing on the businesses that are here. It's real flashy in order to be able to get that big name business to be able to come here, but it's so much more efficient in order to be able to invest in local businesses that are here. This is why we develop things like the micro enterprise grant and programs like that in order to be able to invest in local business. I also spent a lot of time working on youth programs for our community and finding investment in youth programs, something that we need to continue to work on, particularly after what's going on with the pandemic and the effects that we've had on our children. We're going to see the effects of that for years to come, and we need to make sure that we continue to invest in order to be able to mitigate some of those effects that have taken place. With that, I know I'll run long, so I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Next, we go to the candidates for Ward 6, and first off, Scott Orr. Scott?
Hello, folks. My name is Scott Orr. My wife and I, Christy, and my family have been Enid residents here for this round. We're coming up on 17 years. We have also previously spent a year and a half here back in 1999, 2000, when I was a student pilot down here at Vance. We were super excited to hear that we were coming back here. I come from a family of 5, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, the oldest of 5. I think a sense of community service was instilled in me with my father and my mother. My father was in the Navy and subsequently was in law enforcement. My mom was a nurse. And as I was growing up, those were the two things I was most interested in, is law enforcement and aviation. And I was very fortunate to be able to combine the aviation aspect with the Air Force and serve, as well as my number one love of flying. We got here in 2004. My Air Force career was 21 years, retired here back in 2017. Currently working for a major airline, and I'm also working down at the Advanced Air Force Base again as a T6 sim instructor. And I've been very blessed with a wonderful family. I've got my wife of Christy. We're coming up on 26 years. I've got a son who's a senior in college and a daughter who's a freshman in college. And we're excited at this, for this time in our lives. We've got the kids out of the house and we've got some free time, and we couldn't think of a better way to give back to the community than to come out here and try and serve as the Ward 6 Commissioner and represent the great residents up in Ward 6 and the city of Enid.
All right, thank you, Scott. Up next, we have candidate Ryan Redd. Ryan?
Hey, I'm Ryan Redd. I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my views with you.
New marketing phrase for Enid, that whole Garden of Enid thing. Keep it in mind. I like the feel for it. A final candidate for Ward 6, Michael Shuck. Michael?
Yeah, my name is Michael Shuck. Well, you're right, this thing kind of kicks you out there, doesn't it? I've been in and around Enid my whole life. I've got family scattered out throughout northwestern Oklahoma. This is the place we came and shopped and did different things when I was visiting. My parents have been here for 30 years, so I know where all the good places to go look for Christmas lights in when I come and visit them. I know where all the best places to watch fireworks are. So been in and around a lot of for Enid for a long time. My family's decided to make this our home. Graduated from OSU, go Pokes, and had a degree in architecture, worked in architecture for about 20 years. Architects really kind of work with people. We don't just draw pretty pictures and something happens. It's about working with people, going into different places, figuring out what a different business or school or some sort of organization, what they want, what would help them move forward, and then trying to pull that together into a plan and making that happen. So worked with a lot of great schools and business leaders and stuff to do that. Moved to Enid to do the 2016 $92 million school bond issue. I was basically handed a chunk of taxpayer money and told, get this done, make it happen. So what I did is try to put that in a place where it makes the most impact. You don't just kind of try to cut stuff out of budgets and try to, to get the budget to work. You try to put the money where it's going to make the most impact and really, do something amazing with it. I'm really happy to say the Enid High School Gym and Performing Arts Center just had its grand opening. And I was really proud to see all the people in there. Of course, COVID, it was kind of sparse like this, but it was nice to see those people in there. And people were saying stuff like they never dreamed Enid would have something like that. I think we need to be dreaming a little bit bigger. When you start looking around at Enid right now, we've already heard a bunch of people talking about this. It's a great time to be in Enid. There's so much potential here. And that's what really got me excited about trying to run for commissioner here was all the potential that we had. It was, and that's what, with the city budget, you can do the same thing. It's what I did with the school budget. You can find places to focus that money to where you get the biggest impact and make something great happen. So I see Curtis over there giving me the two-minute mark. But let me tell you something. I've got a vision for Enid. I want to work on economic impact, economic development, get those core services, including infrastructure and fire and police, make sure that's all going pretty good, and want to work on quality of life to make this a place that other people want to come to. We all know how good it is. We want other people to know that too.
Okay. And Michael, next time, you might bring your mic a little closer, if you would, please. Just
okay,
better audio.
Blown away there for that first
part. A little closer.
All right.
All right. Would like to remind everybody, if you do have some questions you would like us to work in through the media panel for the candidates, we have some index cards against the west wall along with pens. Fill those out and you can deliver them to Alex Ewald at the end of the table there. We'd be more than happy to receive some of the thoughts and questions you have. We now go to in fact, before we start the questions, I can't tell you how exciting it is to see this many people willing to serve the city of Enid. This is the most candidates we've had in ages. I'd like to give them a round of applause for being willing to step up. Having done this, with the exception of Jonathan, I'm not sure they know what they might be letting themselves in for, but God bless you all for doing that. Deeply appreciate you. Okay, first question comes from Alan Klepper with Williams Broadcasting. I believe you said this was going to be for the Ward 6 candidates?
Yes, sir. Ward 6 candidates, I've had the pleasure for the last couple of years serving on the Call Lake Oversight Committee, the Pipeline Project Oversight Committee. And I would encourage anybody out there that wants to get involved in the city of Enid politics without being on a commission, get on one of the committees that advises the commissioners on the various things they work on. To that end, my question is going to be about the water to you Ward 6 candidates. That's why I'm looking at you three gentlemen. As we look at the Call Lake project, the pipeline project, I also noticed, I drove over here from Brahms earlier and came across an area where there's lines in the streets and there's pipes in the streets. They're getting ready to rip open the pipelines there. How do you see yourself taking in the city's plans to develop or improve on its water infrastructure as we head into the next years?
And the way we'll do this, and Scott opened up with the first statement in the group, Ryan, we'll come to you to make the first answer on this question. So Ryan read, and then we'll let Michael, and then we'll come back to you, Scott, for your answer. And once again, let's try to keep this 2 minutes.
You bet. Thank you for the question. I actually came to the city council a few months ago and spoke against the Call Lake project. It's been passed. It's coming. We're getting lots of water from Call Lake within a few years. So what I want to do is try and encourage any kind of business development, industrial development that we can bring in. growth of local businesses to use that water and to spread the cost of that Call Lake pipeline. There are several things that I'd like to see us focus on that we definitely need to focus on. We need to get adequate utility services to the whole city. We've heard a lot about, I think, Ward 3, either Ward 3 or Ward 4. There's a lot of places there where there's not adequate fire service there, fire water. And so we need to provide that adequate service to those areas. And then focus on getting businesses to grow, those businesses that use water, bringing in more industrial users, and just encouraging growth in our community. And I believe that can be done by lowering regulations on businesses. If we can create a business-friendly climate here by cutting the red tape, cutting regulations, then we can encourage business growth. We can encourage businesses to come in and create a growing community for all of us.
Okay, same question, Michael Shuck.
Yeah, I first want to say you're right about the committees. There's a lot of great ways to get connected into the city. I'm currently sitting on 4 different committees. I'm chairman of 2 of those committees, and they really you learn a lot about what's going on. One of them that's real important to me is the Zoning Board of Appeals. A lot of things that come before commissioners are dealing with zoning issues, and that's just one of those great places to get involved with. And I've had a lot of fun working on that in a bunch of different ways. And there's plenty of stuff too to kind of focus on your personal beliefs and things you like to focus on. Like I'm on the ADA Access Board that's for handicapped individuals to make sure that our city's properties are all accessible. When it comes to Call Lake, you're right. You know, we're headed down that way. We've got the GMP, or the guaranteed maximum price, from our contractor already, a $243 million project. I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's not the whole project there, but that's what the contract was for. Still have other issues out there, but nothing, pretty small things. I think what's going to be one of the important things as we go forward on this one is our ability to maintain or to manage the project. We have Garver as our designer there. They have some really pretty impressive project controls that really kind of made me feel good about the project. I've done a lot of that type of controls where you're controlling large projects like that, and you've got to be looking at it to make sure it doesn't have problems. And I felt like they were pretty good at doing that. So I think that's a lot that I bring, is being able to do that with our other projects as well, and watching that one. It's going to be something that's going to bring water here for 40 to 50 years for us. This is the lifeblood for a community, like you're talking about there, working for all these different industries. The construction itself is only supposed to last for 30 years. So wait, we get 40 to 50 years of water out of it, and it's only going to last us 30 years. That means we need to be able to maintain it. We need to set it up right, make sure it's built right, and make sure it's maintained right.
All right, thank you, Michael. Next response on that question from Scott Orr.
I know the water project it's created some controversy in the past, but I truly believe it's been the right project at the right time. Not only is this going to set us up for potentially the next 40 or 50 years, but I think the timing of the whole thing was right as well. Not only did the city of Enid save a bunch of money on a low-cost loan, but there are no guarantees in the future that loan was going to be available, and who knows what the price would have been, 10, 15 years down the road. Obviously, without water, nobody does anything. This is going to increase the water flow over to the east side and give us the capability. Just a few years ago, we were at almost capacity of what the wells out west could supply to us. And from what I've learned, the lines were getting old, the reservoirs going down, and it's just not filling up as fast as we are using it. And so to have this project and have that water available, I think is going to be a big plus for Enid. I was using the example if we had a factory that wanted to build something on the east side and maybe bring, a couple hundred jobs to Enid, we need to have that water capacity for them to use. Otherwise, it does us no good to tell them, hey, we would love to have you come to town, but come check with us in 7 or 8 years when we have the water available for you. So all in all, I think it was a good project for Enid. I think it sets us up very well for the next, hopefully at least 40 to 50 years. And I think the cost was right, and I think it was done responsibly, and I hope we can follow through and make sure it's done correctly.
All right, Scott, thank you very much. The next question will go to everybody. So Kent, we will start with you. And that question is going to be asked by Jay Curtis from Williams Broadcasting. Kurt?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Frank. And yes, all of you will have the opportunity to respond. You may have touched on it a little bit in your opening statements, but if you didn't, here's your opportunity. If you did, you can reiterate. If you are elected, what are going to be your top couple of priorities, or what are your top couple of concerns?
And Kent, we'll start with you and we'll come entirely down the line. Once again, let's try to keep our answers relatively short. So Kent, you start, Biggin.
Frank, have someone call me on the phone so I can hear what they're saying?
We'll do that if we can do that. I think somebody's got Lloyd's telephone number, so. All right, Kent, go ahead.
Thank you for the question. The top priorities for Ward 3 for me is the streets is number one. Just campaigning and driving down the streets, and I invite people to drive down in the different wards in Enid and check out the streets. The streets in Ward 3 are inadequate, especially over, on the certain Brookside where I live, the streets are pretty good. But a lot of the other part of Ward 3, the streets are, in some cases, are a disgrace. Lighting is also bad. And of course, if we want to bring business to Ward 3, which we have an opportunity to do, we're going to need the infrastructure and the streets. And that also goes to safety with the street lights and just the better water and keeping the water lines new and replacing them. If the streets are bad, you can imagine what underneath looks like if it's been that long since there's been maintenance done. So that would be my number one priority, and economic development would be my number two, and that's for the whole town. But again, I believe Ward 3 has the most opportunity just for land, just for the empty land in Ward 3, just to grow. We have a lot of room, and when you come in to Enid on the east side, like I say, we have a lot of room to grow over there.
All right, thank you, Kent. Same question for Keith Siragusa in Ward 3. Keith?
Several different areas that Ward 3 needs improvement. The roadways, 100% top on the line, because we have probably the worst roads in Ward 3 in the entire city of Enid. I said, I've put many hours on those roads when I was a police officer for 18 years. I travel those roads every day, being that I live in the heart of Ward 3, and I also work in Ward 3. So I have to go through those roads every day. I just spent $1,500 on the front end of my truck this past year, and I only travel in Ward 3. Secondary, which is the Call Lake project, greatest thing that happened to the east side of town, let alone the town, because of the fact that we are on the total end of our water line, and our pressure in the summertime goes down to nothing. We built the water tower out here off of 30th to give us that pressure in the summertime, which was a godsend because we didn't have it. The amount of water that we use, we were at max most summers. We have no water to use our industrial over on 54th Street. We got pads that have everything except water. So that's the next thing. Once we get that water in, then we can start bringing those industrial businesses in. So that needs to be addressed there, which is being addressed. The Call Lake project, kudos to the commissioners, kudos to the mayor. You guys did an awesome job. Our city manager getting us locked in at a 1.8% interest rate saved us a lot of money. Maybe we could use some of that money that we saved for our roadways.
Okay, thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Same question. Whitney Field tapped Lloyd on the shoulder. Lloyd Kaufman.
The question, I guess, is what is my top concerns? Well, the water line that we're getting from Call Lake right now is really the top issue in Enid right now. We're going to have an $18 million bill to pay for the next 50 years on that water line. And I don't think the city, unless they raise a bunch of taxes and water lines or water bills and sewer bills, are going to have enough money to service that loan. It's a really bad issue right now. We need the water, but can we really afford it? Then the streets in Ward 4 right now are really in bad shape. I drive that ward every day in my line of work, and excuse me, the streets over there are just really bad. I see them paving streets all over Enid, but 10 years ago when I was a city commissioner, I brought this to our city manager at that time, how bad the streets were getting in Ward 4, and he said, well, we'll do something about it. And I drive all over Enid every day, and I see them paving projects all over Enid, but I don't see hardly any in Ward 4. And now they're building sidewalks in Ward 4, but the sidewalks don't really go anywhere. That's funny, you know, you can build a sidewalk for 5 blocks, then all of a sudden it quits. But we need the sidewalks. I have to agree, we need the sidewalks. Then our sewer lines. When I was commissioner last time, we had $30 million worth of sewer lines that needed to be repaired 10 years ago. And I don't know why, since I haven't kept up with what's going on down there now. I don't know how they are now, but that's a big issue. We need somewhere to go with these sewer lines. We need the money to fix them. And I guess COVID is a big issue too. People not wearing masks, people wearing masks, people going where they need to go. It shut down. I get so mad sometimes that I'm not very computer literate because everything's online now. And the TV station we used to have here, I want it brought back. The TV station we got now is just basically for the city to blow their horn. It's not for the citizens to beat in.
Okay, Whitney, if you'll tap Lloyd on the shoulder, we've hit you 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Up next, same question for Whitney Roberts, candidate from Ward 4.
I think we can all agree that the roads is a major issue in all of Enid, but mostly in Ward 4 and Ward 3. I know the city has done a wonderful job at trying to attack this problem, but I think that it's still a huge issue. I believe that on the east side of town especially, the response time is unexcusable. I believe that our water issues are another major issue. Water pressure a lot on the east side. It could potentially cause loss of life, and that is unacceptable, and I believe that is the responsibility of the city. Another issue is there is negligent maintenance practices that I know that have led to property damage, and I believe that is also the responsibility of the city. The call water project, I am very pleased with it. I think that is the right step for our city to set up for our future. I believe from here on out, it would be up to the commission to keep it accountable, to keep it under budget if possible and ahead of schedule. I think that it will benefit the city of Enid in the long term.
All right, thank you, Whitney. Same question, issues and concerns for Jonathan Waddell, Ward 4.
I think our most precious resource here in Enid, Oklahoma is our children. And so for me, my first year coming in, there was no money from the city going towards youth programs, children's programs. So I worked in order to be able to inject funding and point it towards that direction. First year was around $35,000 to $40,000. Last year was upwards of $200,000, and it's grown every year towards that direction, and it needs to continue to grow. Unfortunately, at this point, we've left too much to the schools in order to be able to deal with the issues that our children are facing, and we have to help the schools. The schools can't be responsible for everything. And so after school programs, summer programs, in order to be able to help teach civic engagement, how children can connect with their own communities. They're dealing with their own mental health and the issues that they face throughout their days and growing up is an important issue and something that we have to start investing in as a community. The other thing is infrastructure. I definitely agree with infrastructure. Infrastructure is definitely an issue. Ward 4 has seen significant improvements. We've invested in trying to repave Grand. We've done multiple projects over there, but I don't think anybody can argue the fact that we have to continue working to improve that. And I think the pathway for that to be able to build on that is economic development. Our focus in order to be able to invest in businesses here and build businesses here, grow businesses, it has to be a top tier priority for us. And how we do that is, again, in our industrial area east of town, preparing that area for businesses who want to come in and invest in aviation and things like that, preparing that area to do that, that's a way we can do that. Also strategically investing in businesses that have been here and continue to invest here and have roots here. That's the way that we can grow Enid, not just for the short term, but for long-term growth.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. We move to the Ward 6 candidates, same question, issues and concerns. And Scott Orr, we'll start with you.
All right, my top three priorities are number one, financial responsibility on the part of the city. I want to make sure that we are reviewing everything we spend money on and that to make sure it goes to needs before wants. Obviously, infrastructures here in Enid needs a little bit of work. We've got roads, a lot of roads that need to be repaired. We talked about the water and sewer issues already. To ensure clean drinking water, make sure the sewers are working, address the water pressure problem in certain areas of the city, not only for a quality of life, but also as well for safety, as that was brought up before. We've got a great resource here at Enid down there south called Vance Air Force Base, and I would like to continue to work to make Enid an attractive place, and that's a priority for me as well. You know, we get these families into Enid, and we can showcase them a great city and keep our fingers crossed we can continue to responsibly grow our population, not only with residents as tax revenue, but also attract new businesses to serve those folks. I think quality of life, when we come down to that, I'd like to see more money spent on recreation. I think the soccer fields on the southwest side of town are going to be a great asset for the city. Bring in folks from Northwest Oklahoma. I'd like to see the parks improved, and I'd like to see the walking trail aggressively built and hopefully throughout the city to give folks a safe place to run and ride bikes and get out and enjoy the great outdoors.
All right, thank you, Scott. Same question for Ryan Redd. Ryan?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity and the question. I echo a lot of the things that have been said. We need financial accountability. We need to have financial transparency. The city needs to be spending money on the most important things. And those are the basic services, the utilities and the infrastructure and the police and fire. And then after that, we do need to be very careful with this huge project that we're doing. And that's been mentioned a few times already. We need to hold those the contractors accountable to bring that in within budget. And then I also want to see if it's possible to reduce sales taxes here. We're one of the higher sales tax levels in the area. And so people from Enid will go south to the city to make their major purchases, sometimes because of the sales tax level. But the one thing that I want to try and focus on is that I want Enid to become the best place or the friendliest place in Oklahoma to do business and to run a business and to start a business. And if we can we can do that by reducing regulations, by reducing the burden that we put on businesses to jump through hoops. And I believe that if we can do that, if we can make this just a business-friendly place, the businesses will come. You hear about businesses leaving California, going to Texas because it's a business-friendly place. Well, let's have businesses coming to Enid, Oklahoma, flocking to Enid because this is a business-friendly place, and because our city council and our city managers are practically begging businesses to come here through lower regulations.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Same question. Final answer comes from Ward 6 candidate Michael Shuck. Michael?
I'd have to agree with you there on that. That was a great answer for it. I also wanted to say, how many of you out there want another thing to do in Enid? How many of you want another place to eat? You know, that's a common thing that everybody has. So that's really where my focus is right now, is on economic development. As I talked before, I'm used to taking projects, finding that spark to put in there and start it up and started fires and that's what the city can do. The city can't go build a new restaurant for us. The city can't go, have a new place to do something at. But what they can do is put a spark there and light a fire to where other developers, other people will see that the city's investing, and that will bring other investors in, make other people feel confident in Enid that we can put something there that will thrive. So that's what I've been in and around these type of things, like in Automobile Alley in Oklahoma City. It's not an alley, it's Broadway in downtown. You'll know it because you've seen it on the news at night around Christmas time when the newscasters are down there doing a report, and it's the street where all the facades are all lit up with lights. When I first started working down there about 10 years ago, doing architectural projects for people down there, it was scary to go down there. But the city came in, redid the road, what they were already going to do anyway, put some benches in, put some light posts in, all the stuff they were going to do anyway. They got the community together, named it Automobile Alley, branded the thing, just simple stuff that they were going to do. All of a sudden, investment just swarmed in there. So that type of thing can happen here in Enid. I've seen it happen in all these different places. We have a central park. Does anybody know where our central park is? Right now, it's desolated. It's like an urban renewal. Oklahoma City went in and tore up everything. They never built anything back. We're kind of sitting at that part right now. South of Stride Center, our comprehensive master plan calls out for that to be a park, and it's just sitting there right now. If we'd simply go back in, the streets are going to stay the same around it. No matter how we grade the thing, however we make it a park, we can still put the sidewalks around it. We can take Park Street out of it, make a beautiful lawn for soccer and football, plant some little trees around that are real simple right now, let them grow into something really pretty nice, add some activity back in there, add some energy back into our city, and help the economy that way. I think I got my 2-minute
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Little housekeeping before we go to our next question. It's a Ward 4 question, so I'll be bringing a written copy down to Lloyd. So the question will first start with you, Whitney, then we'll go to Jonathan, then to Lloyd. And the question will be asked by General Manager Kevin Waltman of Chisholm Trail Broadcasting. Kevin?
Considering where we're located, everybody's heard of AgriFest, KNID's AgriFest in town. It's been here 24 years. For the future councilman or the current, what do you think the financial impact of that is on the city of Enid?
I believe that it is a substantial financial impact. I think that bringing vendors and people from surrounding areas to Enid brings revenue to Enid. And I believe that is important to continue and to grow, to help our city with tax revenue and just to showcase what we have here in Enid.
And Whitney, you might move your microphone a little closer for the next question. Jonathan Waddell, your response to that same question.
So there's no denying that Enid is an ag area. It's deeply ingrained in our identity of who we are as a community. And so, things like AgFest that attract people from all over, not just Oklahoma, but from Kansas and different communities. It showcases, who we are, but it also gives us an opportunity to do commerce with, all over. We get to, it's great when we can spend money from inside this community, but it's even better when we get money from outside this community to be able to be spent here within our community, to be able to help our infrastructure, help our schools, to be able to help the things here. So anything we can do to be able to attract businesses and business to be done here in Enid is a wonderful thing. And ag is right up on the list. It's number one.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. And Lloyd, you're up next.
I guess the question is, what would the KNID Ag Fest do to Enid? It brings in a lot of money. I can't say $1 million, but I go every year and I really enjoy it. I get to meet a lot of people that I haven't seen in quite a while, and it brings in a lot of people from out of town and everything. It's really a good deal. I think we need more events like that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lloyd. Next question comes from Alex Ewald from the Enid News and Eagle.
Sorry, I've been writing questions, so let me reshift. My question is to the candidates for wards 3 and 6. What do you think? I know you kind of just talked about this, so forgive me if you're repeating yourself, but what do you think needs to be done to bring more people, more businesses, more restaurants, more entertainment, and more places to shop? I guess specifically within your wards in this case.
Okay, so this question for Ward 3 and Ward 6. We'll start down with Ward 3. And since Kent's kind of been the lead dog on some of these, Keith, we'll start with your answer first, and then we'll go to Kent.
Well, in Ward 3, we have a lot of businesses that have moved over to the west side of town. We have a lot of empty businesses, buildings within Ward 3. The problem is Ward 3's infrastructure, once again. We got bad roads, we got bad lighting. Nobody feels safe on the east side of town, so they're gonna go elsewhere. We have a lot of people on the east side of town, a lot of working people on the east side of town. We rely a lot on our police department. The way of getting those businesses back in is making our environment better. Get our roads up, get our lighting up, make it more attractive for those businesses to move back over onto the east side of town. The Shack moved out on the east side in our ward, greatest food. They moved to a bigger building because they couldn't stay over on the east side of town. We got buildings, we just, with our code enforcement and everything else, they're not making it business friendly when there's businesses moving in to certain wards.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Kent, same question for you.
Well, for industrial, I believe we're missing the mark on aviation. We have the Air Force Base and we have an airport, Woodring Airport, and a lot of people from the Air Force stay here, retire here, and I think we're missing the mark where we could have some entrepreneurs, maybe start businesses in aviation. There's towns like Hutchinson, Kansas, and Wichita that aviation is their primary industrial factor. And in Alva, Oklahoma, I worked at Plain.
And going back to some of the code stuff, again, with businesses, why do some businesses need to build dry ponds and some don't? Why do we not have any consistency in some of this code and some of these regulations that we enforce on some of these businesses? I think in the long run, it can be a detriment to building business when those folks can't come in and decide what they really need to do. And I don't think that the city should be making those decisions to decide that.
Okay, Scott, thank you very much. The next question is going to come from Jay Curtis with Williams Broadcasting. Kurt.
All right, thank you, Frank. For our candidates in wards 3 and 4, do you think that the perception that nothing city-related gets done or less city-related gets done on the east side is true? And what would be your response, or how would you address that if elected?
And before we start, Whitney, if you will point that question out to Lloyd, we'll come in a few minutes. We'll start with Ward 3. First off, Kent Rorick, your thoughts?
Are you talking to me? 3?
No, we're going to start with Ward 3. I just wanted Lloyd to be aware of the written question.
Well, I do believe that things have been done in Ward 3, like the skate park that just opened this month. That's a great new addition, you know, an updated addition, and it's been very popular. But again, I've said this word over and over tonight, the potential. They have been left out compared to maybe Ward 6 and some of the other wards.
Okay. Keith Siragusa.
As you can tell from the report from our fire marshal, you can see exactly that the east side of town has been not taken care of. I said we got the oldest infrastructure when it comes to our water mains for fire. Southern Heights, East Park, Kenwood. These were issues back in 2001 that they were discussing these. When we were discussing the Community Block Development Grant for the first time in Enid, Oklahoma, I was the liaison for the police department for that grant. I mapped out the area that was most deserving for that grant. We were the 3rd city in Oklahoma to get the Community Block Development Grant, and it's still going now. We have a board, okay? Why wasn't those areas taken care of? That's the real question. It's 20 some odd years now. And other things are being taken care of over on the west side of town. Snap, 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 1, 2, 3, everything gets taken care of. Okay. I said 16th and Randolph. Been complaining about that intersection, north and southbound, at the stop signs. City comes out, puts a little patch on it. 4 days later, boom, 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 boom. Okay, they need to grade it out, fix it, instead of putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Thank you.
And same question for the Ward 4 candidates. We'll just kind of go in reverse. Jonathan, we'll start with you, then Whitney, then Lloyd. So Jonathan, your remarks and thoughts.
When it comes to issues that are raised and what people's perceptions are, I don't get to sit in the luxury and tell them that their perception is wrong. If their reality, if the pothole that you drive out of your driveway every day never gets filled, then that's the reality, and it's our responsibility in sitting in these seats to be able to find ways in order to be able to fix those particular issues, whatever they may be. I think when you look at the east side particularly, these are the older parts of the community. And so they've been around for much longer. The pipes have been around for longer. The roads have been around for longer. The buildings have been around for longer. And so anybody who's owned something that's got some age on it, it takes significantly more money in order to be able to maintain it and to be able to keep it up. And so this is why finding ways, through economic development and generating more revenue in order to be able to take care of those things is important. But we have to understand what the root cause is. As Enid, as a community, we haven't seen exponential growth in terms of population, But what you have seen is that we've spread farther north, we spread farther west, we've spread, out. And if our population doesn't grow in the way in which we spread logistically, we still got the same amount of money because that's the way we pay for it. And so our dollars are being spread thin. And so when you make determinations in order to be able to live out in the outskirts and, you're on a dirt road when you move there, and 18 months later, you're like, well, I've got dirt all over my car. Well, you built a house on a dirt road. And so you want the city to come put asphalt and maintain it. I'm not telling you don't have a legitimate gripe, but the money has to come from somewhere. And if we don't get new money, we have to pull from someplace else in order to be able to put it there. And so these are the budgetary decisions we have to make. So no, the perceptions aren't wrong, but we still have to legitimately find a way in order to be able to get it done.
Okay. Same question for Ward 4 candidate Whitney Roberts. Whitney?
Yes, Ward 3 and 4 are both neglected, in my opinion, by the city. Everything that gets done over there is usually put on a back burner, or like Keith said, they've just slapped a Band-Aid over it and it does not solve the actual issue. Yes, we do need money to fix these issues, but I believe that the city has made some bad deals in the past that revenue could have been used towards this issue, which is a citywide. You ask anybody, it is an issue with everyone. I don't know how many memes I've seen making fun of the potholes in Enid. So it's not just the east side that sees it. I know that all of Enid sees it.
And the same question for Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd?
Okay, Ward 4 has got a lot of problems. The roads, the sewer lines, the electrical lines and everything. And I think the city gives a lot of lip service to the people when they go down there complaining about it. The issue is money. The people over there don't have enough money. They don't have enough influence on city council because the west side does have the money and they have the influence to get what they want done. If they got $1 million houses over there now, and that's something I never thought I'd see in Enid. The road I live on up there on North Washington runs right by the fairgrounds. And Jerry Johnson, 30 years ago, he came in there and took the county and repaired it and blacktopped it. And 30 years later, the city comes in there and overlays it. And it's still a fairly good road, but the first 15 years I lived up there on Washington, I drove in mud, 6 inches deep, just to get from the fairgrounds to Willow. It's a touchy problem, and I don't think it's going to be fixed in one day, but I think they do need to pay more attention to what's going on over there because a lot of people don't have the money to keep their property up, and they don't have a lot of money to get anything done. So it kind of leaves the responsibility to the city. Now, the alleys over on the east side are blocked off. They've overgrown. You can't even get down some of them. And that is the city's responsibility. 15 or 20 years ago, they put that responsibility onto the homeowner, and they don't care. They don't drive down the alley every day. So it's overgrown. You could go in there and cut trees for 6 months to a year and not make a dent in it. So, I think they just bypass the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Next question is from General Manager Alan. So you're next. Alan Klepper next from Williams Broadcasting.
You'd think the DJ in the room would remember to turn on the mic. All right. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had a lot of construction in Enid, the overpass and Cleveland, a lot of improvements going on. Some of those to me personally, and as I ask this question, this is for Ward 6. As I ask this question, I also know I don't know all the details, so I'm not accusing anything. I appreciate the improvements, but it seems like a lot of the improvements took a lot longer than they should have. So the question is, some of the things, the mistakes that may have been made in the city government that you guys don't want to see happen again. And it doesn't have to be about roads. It can be anything in general.
Okay, we'll start, Scott, with you. Do you need to hear the question again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the last half of that question.
I'll take my mask off so you can see me. some of the mistakes that may have been made by previous councils that you don't want to see happen again? And it could be a general question.
Hello. So, yeah, as I look at some of the things that are being done around the city, I actually think the overpass was that was done fairly quickly. I was impressed with how fast they got that done. As for some of the other projects, yes, they have taken a long time. And I think there are some projects that I would look back on the cities that the city has decided on that I don't think necessarily need to be done. Let's take the Stride Bank Center and the hotel downtown, for example. I think they're great additions to Enid, but I think that's money that could have been well spent on something else on the infrastructure before we spend money on a want rather than a need. And where is the incentive on the folks who run the Stride Center when the city continuously, year after year, when we were told that the Stride Bank Center should be on its own and making its and at least breaking even in several years. But where is the incentive on anybody to run that efficiently when we as a city continue to give them money? We've had a couple of adventures in the mall in the past that have never come out to any fruition. We've had, I know we've turned down a casino that may not end up being a good deal for Enid. I think there was some revenue that could have been shared there, and now from my knowledge that that's going to federal lawsuits, and if they come back and build, there's a possibility there won't be any income from that. So those are some of the decisions that I think I would go back and revisit as far as projects the city has gotten into.
Okay, comments of Scott Orr. Up next, Ryan Redd.
Yeah, so one of the things that's happened in the city is I think we spent money where we didn't need to spend it and not spent money where we needed to spend it. So it's a budgeting problem. It's, where do we put our money? And I think we have hammered on the roads and the infrastructure a lot tonight, and for good reason. That's where we need to be putting more money there. And I also don't think that the city should be picking winners. I don't think the city should be subsidizing some people, some businesses, selecting who to subsidize. And there's been, just like you said, there's been a lot of discussion about the hotel just north of us. The last thing I want to talk about is that I want us to treat the tax dollars as a sacred trust. And those are, we need to be doing all we can to reduce what we spend in the city, and leave that money in the hands of the consumers, keep that money coming into Enid, and just make it easier to do business here, make it more appealing for people to make their purchases here, and this place will continue to grow.
And the same question for Michael Shuck. Michael?
Well, my comment's not about what we have done. I think we've done a lot. We've really pushed forward. I want to see more economic development. I want to see more pushing. I think what we're listening to is what we haven't done. I pointed out Central Park. That's an idea that's been sitting around a while. It's something that's pretty simple that can energize the community. I know there's a little bit with the Family Dollar there, but Family Dollar's not bad. That's a good thing to have in town. So I think we can work around that and make that something that's actually really, really special with not a lot of money. It can start out in phases and work it up. And the thing that a lot of people miss is economic impact about some of these things, how they bring people in. One of the other things I think we could do more of is use the community development block grants a little bit more. That affordable housing is an issue that we have, and it's stopping us from getting more people here to get more work here. You need to be able to, certain people will buy a nice economic house when you just start out. Then you get a promotion or more kids and you go get another larger house. In Enid, we have problems making that move. People try to build onto their house to try to fix that issue. We need to be able to allow people to grow into it. That opens up new places for younger people to move in. Right now, if people, from Carrier, they're going to move to the big city. They're not talking about Enid. They're jumping over and going to Oklahoma City. We need to capture those people, bring those people in. So those are the kind of things I think we need to be doing more instead of less.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Next question for the candidates comes from the General Manager of Chisholm Trail Broadcasting, Kevin Waltman. Kevin.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to say thank you, Whitney, for helping out the gentleman next to you. I wish we'd have been better prepared. So appreciate that very much. Nobody here really knows me, but I like to rattle things up a little bit. So this question is a hypothetical question, and it was originally set out for the gentleman down there in Ward 3, but I'd like to encourage everybody to answer it if you would. And again, hypothetically speaking, and in my mind, this just lets me know how you guys think about things and probably everybody else. And I'll read it as I wrote it. The border wall, if it was your decision, will we keep building it or will we tear it down?
And we'll start down on the east side and just come rolling through. You can, like I said, once again, let's keep to our time limits. Kent Rorick, we'll start with you.
Well, I don't think that question has much relevance for tonight here in Enid, but we'd have to do research to see how much money's been spent, and I don't think it needs to keep being built. I mean, there's a river there, and I always thought it was kind of odd how you're going to go through a river and who gets the river and all that. So, but again, no offense to you, sir, but I do not think that's a very good question tonight when we have a lot of other stuff to talk about the citizens and the things going on in Enid.
Okay, same audience response. Keith Siragusa, your thoughts?
Are there any of our businesses supplying any parts or labor to that wall, that hypothetical wall that you're talking about?
Hypothetically, I have no idea.
Okay, so since it doesn't affect Enid, I don't care either way.
Okay, all right. Whitney, is Lloyd got that question now?
Just now.
Okay. So.
Do we need to build a wall? Well, I don't know. That's kind of beyond me, but we need to do something about illegal aliens. A lot of the people here in Enid are illegal, and I meet a lot of people that are illegal, but they're good people, basically. You know, they come up here wanting a better life for their people, and I think the 10 or 12 million that's here now that they're trying to give in 8 years to get their citizenship, I think they ought to just grant their citizenship right now and get those people into paying taxes and making a living for everybody else. But yes, I think we need to keep building the wall.
Okay. Whitney Roberts.
Even though I feel that safety is one of my top priorities, and like as the gentleman
I'm all for immigration, legal immigration. And when we've got a flow of illegals coming in, you can take California as a perfect example. They are starting to become a real drain on the resources out there in California. Those folks out there are giving them money for the COVID stuff. They're giving them health care and other stuff and Social Security, out of the Social Security funds. I personally don't agree with that. And if we put the wall, and it will at least keep that flow to a manageable amount, then hopefully we can start taking care of some of our issues. Again, I'm not against immigration. I'm against illegal immigration. And number one, it's a matter of national security.
Okay. Thoughts of Ryan Redd? Ryan?
You bet. I'll tackle this question as well. I agree pretty much with what Scott said, and I do believe that we do need the wall. We do need to be able to control who comes into our country. But I think we need to bring those people that want to come. We need population growth in the United States. We need people to work. We need people to fill the jobs. And I have a lot of friends who have come here from south of the border, and they're dear friends to me. And I've seen the struggles that they've gone through because some of them came illegally. Some of them have benefited from the DACA program. And those people need to be brought into our society, brought into the full ability to work and to be able to do that all the time, not have to renew their driver's license every 6 months and things like that. So we need a comprehensive program. We need a comprehensive policy where we control who comes in and we bring the people that we need into this country to work.
Okay, and final comments from Michael Shuck. Michael?
Yeah, again, I kind of echo some of them that have said this isn't really something that the commissioner needs to deal with. It does deal with jobs and safety. That makes a lot of sense to talk a little bit about that. But I also like the idea of it does mean about people coming to town. That's another part that I'm still looking at is the quality of life. I want to be able to build Enid. I'm on the board of the Enid Sports Association. We're building the advanced soccer complex. That's a public-private partnership between the city of Enid and Enid Sports Association. That's one of those great ways that we can build something with by pulling in some extra donations and various things in with some of the things that the city does to put something focused in. That's going to be great for the community, and it's going to bring people to us. It's going to bring people here. It's going to bring huge crowds up here to see the events or to participate in it, bringing money to our restaurants and stuff like that. So, if we can get some people here, let's get them here. So,
okay, thank you, Michael. Nearing the end of tonight's forum, and we appreciate you all listening, watching, being here in person. May have one or two more questions, one for sure from Alex Ewald of the Enid News and Eagle, and I believe it's for everybody. So, Alex.
Hi. So also, I just wanted to mention I have plenty of index cards now, so I'm going to save all the paper now. No more. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions. I will try to get to as many of these as we can, with as much time as we have. My question is, again, to all of you who wish or wish not to answer. What responsibility do city leaders have to public health during, we throw this term around a lot lately, an unprecedented pandemic like COVID-19? And then I would add on, if you could add on top of that, do you think the mask mandate is helping or not, or does it need to be extended in Enid?
And we'll start down at the eastern far end with Kent Rorick. Kent?
Well, this is a touchy subject. I mean, the election could be won and lost on this subject alone. And, but I am going to say that this council did vote and they did pass a mask mandate, and that's not going to change due to the election. I mean, if the people get flipped, the vote would still be the same. So I do think that it does make a difference. I think we need to wear masks, and that's just my opinion. I have some health issues. My wife has some pre-existing health issues. And for us with compromised immune systems, we definitely have to wear masks. I realize freedoms and opinions of people, and it's a touchy subject, but I do believe the data shows, and scientifically it shows, that masks have been helping. And I do believe it is the council's responsibility to its citizens to vote on it, which they did.
Okay, thank you, Kent. Keith Siragusa, your thoughts?
Okay, Section A340, Health Powers, City of Enid shall have the power by ordinance duly passed to regulate and prescribe such rules and regulations deemed advisable or necessary to protect public health, public safety, and comfort. And comfort. Okay, very uncomfortable situation the city commissioners were put in and the mayor was put in. Mayor did not bring it up. The mayor's voted by everybody in the city. Wards are voted by their constituents in the ward. I feel that the mask, if it was brought up by the mayor and pushed by the mayor, then it would have been more of an issue. But it wasn't pushed by the mayor. It was pushed by one commissioner. Okay? General powers, the Board of Commissioners shall be vested with the power and charged with the duty of adopting all laws and ordinances not inconsistent with the Constitution of this state and laws thereof, touching every subject matter and subject within the purview of local government instituted by this charter. Once again, we're discussing one individual that was pushing, finally made everybody else vote on it. Okay, does the mask work? There's possibility. Does the virus spread through the mask? There's a possibility. There's nothing concrete either way. I operate out at the farm. We have people with disabilities. They do not wear masks. I do not have one case of COVID back to the farm. The reason being is we sanitize everything. We social distance, hand washing before and after lessons with my clients. And still there's not one case. Think when we walk back to the beginning of COVID, what was social distancing? Washing, sanitizing, 3 things. This gives people false hope because they get into social distancing issues because of wearing this.
Okay. All right, Lloyd Carr, your thoughts? You ready for this question?
Well, that is a big question, whether the city ought to take a role in forcing people to wear the mask. Personally, I don't think it helps a bit. You know, it's everybody's responsibility to take care of themselves. And they can't expect the city or the government or anyone else to do what they need to do on their own. I don't wear a mask at home. I very rarely wear it out in public, but I will abide by whatever people want to do to protect themselves from me or anybody else that don't want to wear a mask. But I don't think the city government ought to dictate any kind of terms like that to anybody. It's their own personal responsibility. And being adults, now the kids don't have any choice, but the parents ought to have enough sense to protect their children. They are our future. Personally, I just don't care. I take care of myself the best I can, and I don't think I'll be around here in 5 years, but I think this bug will be around for the next 10 or 15 years because it's going to come back every year. So you need to take your own personal responsibility and do what it takes to protect yourself. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lloyd. Whitney Roberts.
I believe that everyone should be able to make their own decisions regarding their health care. I'm not a healthcare professional. I would always advise everyone to seek the advice from their healthcare physician and abide by what their doctors would deem acceptable for their situation. As far as the government's role in public health, I believe that the government has limited resources and the government needs to provide those resources for our most vulnerable population, such as my grandparents. They're both over 80. They wear their masks when they go out in public. I'm very thankful that they've had their vaccine. They're going in the next couple weeks for their second round. I have family that live in California and with young kids worry about passing something over to them. And I'm thankful that they have that assuredness. Well, it's not even assuredness. They have a comfort in having that kind of opportunity to have the vaccine. My dad lives in a state that requires masks everywhere you go, and he still got COVID. Just from my personal experience, yes, it may help, but I have not seen hard evidence that it is a definite, yes, this will help. I think as long as, like you said, keeping our distance, hand washing, I think that is the best deterrent to get this virus.
Okay, thank you, Whitney. Jonathan Waddell.
Man, this was a crazy decision to make. And I don't think anybody involved ever wanted to make it. What I'll say is this. From the very beginning, I voted for the mask mandate. If given the opportunity again, I would vote for it again. The efficacy of masks has been debated at length. The determination from the information that I found has been simply this. Depending on the type of mask that you have, there are certain degrees of efficacy. I make the comparison of a police officer. When you put on a bulletproof vest and you get shot, it's not guaranteed that it'll stop the bullet. But I'd much rather have it on than not have it on in the event of being shot. These masks are not 100%, they're not perfect, but what they have the ability to do is to mitigate the risk. And I understand the individual liberty aspect of it. Believe me, I do. I put on the uniform in order to be able to defend it. But we are a community, and we live, die, survive together as one people together, working together for the preservation of our society. And if we try to live and exist in silos in the thought process that our actions don't affect our neighbors, our society won't last for very long. Our country was predicated on the thought process that we were united together, we worked together towards a unified purpose. This is what I thought that was going to be. Unfortunately, it turned into something entirely different, which was never the intent. But I hope we can find our way forward in a more positive way. Thank you.
Okay, the same question for Scott Orr. Scott?
Yeah, this is a loaded question, but you know, I consider myself a fairly educated guy, and you know, when I go out there, this virus is indiscriminate. Who knows who it's going to strike? Why? I can just take a small family of 5 or 6. You know, why would a dad come home with it? The mom doesn't, or the mom and the kids don't catch it without masks. Nobody can really explain that. It's indiscriminate. Yes, there are deaths, and those are very unfortunate. But I've seen studies go both ways. And I've seen studies of towns similar to Enid who do have who are medical doctors who are telling me, I never wear a mask. I'm not afraid of it. And I've got doctors who are scared to death of it. So who out there is really to know what the truth is? But the bottom line is, I feel blessed to live in a conservative state, in one of the most conservative states in the union and one of the most conservative cities in this state. And I think it's up to the individual to decide. And I'm all for civil liberties. I encourage our businesses to make the decisions that are good for them. If they require masks, that's great. I would wear one in. If they don't, that's awesome. I'm still going to go in. But I don't think it's upon the city government, or any government for that matter, to tell people what to do, especially healthy people. In the court of law, you're innocent until proven guilty. I'm healthy until proven otherwise. And I don't like to wear a mask. It bothers me. I've got a hearing disability. And I'm telling you what, I'm having a hard time understanding just some of the folks here talking tonight. I don't think that's the way it should work. I think that the city, instead of making mandates, should highly encourage and educate the folks. I don't like the videos that we're putting out, spending city money on encouraging masks and giving a guilt trip to citizens who don't wear one. It's not right, and it shouldn't happen.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Same question for Ryan Redd. Ryan?
Yeah, so in my church, there's actually been 4 people in the last 2 months that have passed away from COVID. So COVID's real. It really does affect people's health. However, I don't believe that there's the jury's still out on whether a mask really works. And I think that the decision should be up to the individual. And that we should have the ability to decide whether we're going to wear it or not, whether we're going to wear it in our homes or not. whether we're going to wear it on our cars or not. Now, if a business puts on their front window or the front door and says a mask is required, I put on a mask and I go in. And so in that sense, it hasn't really changed my behavior any, and I don't think it's changed the behavior of a lot of people in town. If there was a sign on the door before the mask mandate, most people put a mask on. And so the same people are doing the same things now. I do believe that there's some additional potential downsides to wearing a mask as well. And a friend of mine worked in a medical office and wasn't able to wash her mask for a couple of days, and she got sick, and she was out for weeks, not with COVID, but with something else that she had caught from having the mask over her face. So that's not the point. The city is tasked with doing this, with making these kind of decisions. I would not vote for a mandate. I would not vote to extend it because I think that is up to the individual liberties of every person of this town.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Final comments from Michael Shuck. Michael?
Yeah, I'm kind of like most people. I put it on when I see the sign. I kind of go without when I don't. It's and is it right or is it wrong? Does it work? Does it not? There's a lot of confusion about this. I really think this is a time for real thoughtful leadership. The commissioners, the mayor, all had to put a lot of thought into this, and I really respect them for that. We all know somebody who's had it. We all know somebody who's had it bad. Most of us know somebody that's died. To me, this has just polarized us more than anything. It brought that national polarization right here to Enid. I want to make something big happen here. I want Enid to be the best. I don't want to be fighting. You guys don't want to fight. You want something good to happen here. I didn't see the mandate as a mandate. Our police officer, our chief of police said that it was unenforceable. So what they passed, I thought, I've talked to several of the commissioners and they've told me this. They said it was, just time to do something, anything. And I think since it's not really a mask mandate to me, it is a highly recommended thing. I think I would support it. Now, that being said, that probably doesn't, hopefully that doesn't have anything to do with us. Once we get in however many months here, would get seated on the commission, I really pray that this is all gone.
Okay, Michael, thank you. We've gone past our allotted time for our gathering this evening, but we're going to ask one more question submitted from the audience. And I think Alex is going to retain some of your other questions and use those in his coverage moving forward as he talks to the candidates, and we'll distribute those to the other media members. So we'll call this kind of a lightning round if you want to do a slightly quicker answer on this, and we'll come to a conclusion. Alex Ewald, final question.
Yes, so I kept getting a commonly differently phrased question that people in the audience and on Facebook were kind of asking. So I will one of the ones that I am reading right now, it is a variation of ones that people have been asking. So the question is, there has to be a balance between having a personal life and being accessible to your constituents. What are your plans on communicating with your ward? And then I would add on top of that, how do you plan on communicating with your fellow commissioners? That was some sort of other question that was asked tonight. Okay. Does that kind of make sense to everyone?
Okay. We'll start down with Kent and Whitney. I see you're writing that down for Brother Carr there. So Kent Rorick, if you'll go first.
Well, I hope I showed my leadership tonight by going first most of the time. But anyway, communication's one of the biggest things in life, right? I mean, you have to communicate. The fellow board members have to communicate. I've been on national boards before where you may not even talk to someone until the next meeting. I mean, certain people would, but other people just went back to their life and they kind of forgot about why they were elected and they didn't communicate. So as far as communicating with like the citizens in Ward 3, we all have a computer in our pocket, and I've already set up campaign things. If elected, I will leave those on Facebook, and I have emails and stuff where I'm very accessible. I work a job that I work a lot of hours, but I do have a lot of downtime sitting at my desk where I can answer questions throughout the day during my job, not just on Sundays or in the evenings. So to answer the question, I believe communication is key for citizens and for fellow commissioners.
Right, Keith Siragusa?
Well, I haven't had a Ward 3 community meeting in 18 years that I've lived in Ward 3. I'd like to bring back the community meetings to Ward 3 so that my constituents can have an area to tell me when and what needs to be taken care of. We have a very bad issue with transparency with the city, with our commissioners. There's none of our commissioners that are actually going out there and having communities debates to tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. What do you think? Back and forth. We have city meetings. I'd like to bring back into Ward 3, if I am elected, a community meeting every quarter. Okay. So that's 4 times a year. Plus, this thing's attached to me 24/7. Nature of my business, dealing with clients that have different abilities and different issues, that I make myself available to them 24/7. I make myself available to my constituents 24/7 also.
Okay. And Lloyd Carr, your thoughts on this final question?
Okay, I guess what are my plans for communicating with my persons in my ward? I probably do just like I did last time. Accept phone calls, hopefully not late at night like a lot of them did, but you know, communication is the key to everything. If you talk to people and find out what they want done and try to get that done on the commission, that's about the best you can do. But it takes 6 people to get anything done. The last time I was there, I had a hard time getting anything on the agenda. I don't know why, but I could never get another commissioner that I was working with to help me get. It takes 2 people to get something on the agenda. I think one person would be enough. If he wants to put something on the agenda, they ought to let him instead of having to get somebody else to agree. But communicating with my public is more than anything. Thank you.
Cool. And same question for Whitney Roberts.
If I'm elected as city commissioner, I not only want to be the voice of voters in Ward 4, but I also want to be an ear to them. I don't want them to see me as this untouchable person that they can't communicate with. Just like other gentlemen said, Facebook is a wonderful tool to use. I would set up an online platform where they could message me and discuss things amongst themselves. I would love to hold a meeting as well, not as a forum type because this is kind of cold, but more of a meet and greet where we can actually talk as regular citizens because that's what I am. I do much better with one-on-one conversations. And I think making this role something that is accessible to everyone is important. Along lines of transparency, I think it's vital for our community to know why certain decisions were made, not just what decisions were made. I think that would help people be more on the side of the city if they understood those reasons, and being accessible to my constituents is most important for that.
All right, thank you, Whitney. Jonathan Waddell.
When I was first elected, one of the first things that I did is I visited churches within my ward and met with the people of those churches. One of the first things that we'll find as soon as you get in, trying to find a collection of people to get together is going to be difficult. All we have to do is look at how many people showed up tonight inside this room. It's not an easy thing to do. I gave my personal home phone number, which I changed after a couple of years of getting profanity left on my answering machine and all kinds of stuff. So I have a Google Voice number that I answer whenever it's called. I've had over just under 100 lunches or coffees with people from the ward in order to be able to sit down and listen to what their issue is. I have an email address in order to be able to be accessible. I have a Facebook page, though not many people, I don't know what it's about the Facebook, but trying my best in order to be able to be accessible through as many avenues as humanly possible, just to give people an opportunity to give a voice to whatever their issue is. That's really the plan. I think there were some great ideas here, community meetings. We've tried them before in the past and not exactly successful, but I think sometimes you got to keep trying things in order to be able to get the result that you're looking for. So thank you.
Okay. And Scott Orr.
Being as that's the number one reason I'm here is to represent the residents of Ward 6. We do have a campaign email set up that we plan on keeping to keep the line of communications open. That's the easiest form for me. I will also make if I'm elected, I will also make my my personal email available as well, and encourage folks to let me know. But not only that, but to let me know allow me the opportunity to make sure that matters of the city are transparent and that I can communicate with those folks as well. We do have, like I said, we set up a campaign email. We've got a email list going already of Ward 6 residents, and I would encourage them to, I will advertise that, encourage them to be a part of that if they want regular updates on what's going on in the city.
And comments from Ryan Redd. Ryan?
I have to say there's a lot of great ideas that have been put out there. And one of the things that's actually a high priority for me is to get engagement from the people of Ward 6. I mean, there's a lot of engagement, and as I've been out and talked to a few hundred people already, I've actually really enjoyed hearing the comments and the concerns and the care that so many people have for our community. And so that's something that I want to do. I want to create an open forum, and I'm thinking that probably Facebook is the way to do that, to get the most engagement. Got to figure out how to get that to everybody, everybody in Ward 6. I haven't figured that out yet, but to make it so that people can give their comments, people can ask questions. We can talk about the things that have happened in the city council meeting, the things the city's looking at, and so that, I mean, it's a high priority for me to do that. So we've already got a Facebook page.
But town hall meetings and stuff just don't seem to work as well in here because not that many people come out unless there's something to fight about. So what I do, and this is the way I work all the time, is working in architectural and design projects, I go into places and I have to figure out what their problem is. So I kind of group people in different ways, the people out in the front office, people in manufacturing, people wherever, and try to go out there, and I go out there and talk to them. I go out and ask the question, and go out and try to group them in different ways and make different ways for them to communicate to me. A lot of times, like I worked for the school system, so I'd be doing a lot of classrooms and things like that. I'd wander through a school late at night and just kind of have casual conversations with them. But that's what it was about taking in all that information, because what I ended up having to do to design a building was I had to take all those comments from everybody. Didn't care if they were the person that didn't have much to do or the boss. I had to take all those and figure out a way to solve their problem or how to improve their business. That's the way I'd look at doing it here. Is I'd go out and try to talk as many ways as would. I'd have all those good ideas, the town hall meetings, everything I could to get people involved in it. But then I'd take those good ideas and, just like building it in architecture and building a building, I'd try to build a solution and try to carry that forward. So I'm really open to a lot of people like that, and I kind of just try to find a way to get information that way. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. That concludes our forum tonight. One more time, I want to go through the fine candidates you'll be voting on February 9th. From Ward 3, Kent Rorick and Keith Siragusa. From Ward 4, Lloyd Kaufman, Whitney Roberts, and Jonathan Waddell. And from Ward 6, Scott Orr, Ryan Redd, and Michael Shuck. And if you would, let's give them a round of applause for being willing to serve. Deeply appreciate that. Big thank you to our media partners. I think this thing was everywhere through the city of Enid, Enid News and Eagle, Chisholm Trail Broadcasting, Williams Broadcasting, Enid Buzz, Curtis Tucker, thank you for being here. And we appreciate whether you're watching, listening, viewing, or if you see this at a later date, get your butts out and vote February 9th. That's how change happens in the community. I'm Frank Baker. Thank you so much for attending.